Are you buying your first home in Edmonton? Let me walk you through the actual process, step by step, including the one thing that most people forget until it's too late. This isn't a guessing game or a bunch of generic advice. This is exactly how I guide my clients from the first call to the key handoff. And if you're wondering how long it takes, let's break that down too by the numbers. Hey, what's going on, everybody? I am Tristan, a full-time Edmonton realtor who helps first-time buyers move from questions and guesswork to a clear, confident plan. I'm not here to pressure you into a purchase or flood you with listings. My job is to make the path make sense, to show you what happens when, why it matters, and how to avoid the expensive, emotional decisions that trip up so many buyers. I've worked with clients at every stage, from people just exploring mortgage options to buyers who are ready to write an offer next week. No matter where you're starting, this timeline is going to give you a better sense of the full picture. It's honest, data-backed, and built to help you stay in control from start to keys in hand. Before we talk neighborhoods or listings, it starts with your financing. That means connecting with a mortgage specialist, not guessing based on rent or using a bank's prequel tool. You need real numbers, clear limits, and a strategy. They'll begin with your credit. A score above 680 puts you in a strong position, but even if you're lower, it's not a deal breaker. What matters is understanding where you stand, what lenders will see, and how to work with it. Next is income verification. If you're salaried, it's simple. A letter of employment and recent pay stubs. If you're hourly, on commission, or self-employed, they'll likely average your last 2 years of income, and it just takes a bit more documentation, not more stress. Then there's the down payment. For most homes in Edmonton, you're going to need at least 5% down. That's just the start. You'll also need to budget around 1.5% of the purchase price for closing costs. That includes legal fees, title insurance, home inspection. So let's say you're looking at a $400,000 home. That's a minimum of $20,000 down, plus about $6,000 in closing costs, which is elevated a little bit, but roughly $26,000 upfront, give or take based on the property. Once your mortgage specialist has your documents, they'll issue a pre-approval. That locks in your rate for 90 to 120 days and gives us a solid ceiling to work with. When we write an offer, sellers know that you're ready, and that makes a difference. If you don't have someone in mind, I work with mortgage pros that I trust, people who keep it simple and communicate well. Let me know if you'd like an introduction, because getting this part right is the foundation for everything that comes next. You can expect this whole process to take about 1 to 2 weeks. Once you're pre-approved, we will book a strategy call or meet in person to build your buying plan. This is where we get specific. Budget is just one piece. I want to understand your goals, your timelines, and what actually makes a home the right fit for your life. Are you buying solo or with a partner? Is a garage a must, or is street parking okay? Would you trade newer finishes for a better location or resale value? We'll also talk about your ideal possession date, whether this is a long-term hold or a starter property, and how flexible you can be on timing. The goal isn't to tour 30 places. It's to identify the handful that makes sense financially and functionally, so that when the right one hits the market, we're ready to move. If you're a first-time buyer, I'll walk you through the full process step by step. And if you've bought before, I'll flag what's changed, especially around conditions, timeline risks, and seller expectations in today's market. Also, just a quick heads up, at this point in the process, there are a few compliance documents that we're required to complete before we start viewing homes or drafting offers. These include the Consumer Relationships Guide, the Individual Consent of Purchaser form, which is one form per person on the title, and either a buyer representation agreement or a customer acknowledgement, depending on how you choose to move forward. It's all standard paperwork under Alberta's real estate regulations, nothing binding on purchase, but it does help clarify roles, protect your information, and ensure that you understand how representation works. I'll explain everything clearly when we meet, and I will never rush you through it. And as part of that setup, I may ask for a quick photo of government-issued ID just for paperwork and compliance reasons. It's not a credit check, and there's no obligation tied to it. It's just part of getting you properly set up in the system. By the end of this step, you'll have a full roadmap, a tailored property profile, and everything lined up to move forward with confidence. Once you're pre-approved and we've built your strategy, we move into showings. This is where you get to see what your budget actually buys you in Edmonton and where priorities often shift. Most buyers view between 6 and 10 homes before writing an offer. But if we'd done the work up front, clarified your must-haves, ruled out deal breakers, locked in your price ceiling, the right home usually shows up a little bit faster than that. In many cases, we can find this in just a few weeks. The key here is focus. It's easy to get distracted by staging or surface level finishings, but I'll help you assess the parts that actually impact value. The age of the roof, the condition of the furnace, the resale potential, and how this property stacks up against recent comparables. We're not just finding a home that feels good, we're finding one that makes the numbers make sense too. That means balancing location, condition, long-term value, and monthly affordability, all in real terms. If something looks great on paper but won't hold value in a changing market, I'll flag that. If we see a property that's underpriced or has leverage potential, I'll show you where the opportunity is. This part isn't about luck, it's about decision-making with the right data. If you want this full process laid out in one place with timelines, cost breakdowns, and checklists, I've built a free resource called the Edmonton Homebuyers Game Plan. It covers everything we've walked through so far, plus real numbers that you can actually plan around. You can grab it using the link below. It's the same guide I use with clients, and it'll keep you organized from start to finish. And definitely keep watching. The next steps, especially 4 through 6, are where things tend to get a bit more complex. Writing offers, removing conditions, and closing preparations. That's where the details matter most, and that's what we're walking through next. When we find the right property, we act fast. If it's well priced or drawing attention, I can have the offer drafted, reviewed, and submitted in just a few hours with everything done properly. The offer includes price, deposit, possession date, and conditions. We base our pricing on comparables and market activity, not emotion. And in competitive situations, clean, realistic, and well-structured wins. Deposits are set by you, but in Edmonton, the typical range is $5,000 to $10,000, depending on the purchase price. Most buyers choose to submit the deposit within 5 business days, but we can tighten that if needed. Deposit goes toward your down payment and isn't extra. Payment options typically include bank draft, wire, direct deposit, or e-transfer, but it is up to the seller's brokerage and how they tend to receive deposits. Once you submit the deposit, I will need a copy of the receipt for compliance reasons. Condition timelines are also your call, but 10 business days is standard for financing and inspection. If you're pre-approved and your finances are straightforward, we can shorten that up to stay competitive. Shorter timelines often give you the edge. Inspections can usually be booked within 2 to 3 days. Many inspectors will work evenings and weekends. I will coordinate that. Lenders, on the other hand, don't work weekends, so we'll factor that into financing conditions. For condos, a 5 to 7 business day window is pretty typical for document review. These include financials, bylaws, reserve studies, details that impact the long-term value. I can't interpret these for you, but I will connect you with a qualified reviewer. You'll review the full offer before anything is sent. I'll walk you through every section if I haven't already. And if I didn't before, I will also request a photo of your government-issued ID and the deposit receipt. Both are standard for compliance requirements. At this point, things move quickly. My job is to make sure that everything is accurate, strategic, and positioned to win while protecting your interests. Once your offer is accepted, we enter into the condition period. This is your window to finalize financing, complete a home inspection, and if it's a condo, review the condo documents. You set the timeline, but most buyers go with 7 to 10 business days. And if your financing is solid, we can shorten that up to make your offer a little bit more competitive. For the home inspection, I'll recommend trusted inspectors and join you on site. Plan for 2 to 3 hours. They'll check the structure, the roof, the HVAC, plumbing, electrical, and more. You'll also get a full report after, but I'll help you understand the key items as we go. What's typical, what's costly, and what may need some negotiation. If you're buying a condo, we'll also order the full set of documents, which includes like financials, reserve fund reports, bylaws, and meeting minutes. But I can't actually interpret or advise on these. But I will connect you with a condo document specialist who can flag anything that may be concerning. During this period, I coordinate directly with your mortgage specialist, the inspector, and any other professionals involved to keep the process moving. Plus, you won't need to chase for updates. Once conditions are satisfied, we sign the notice to remove conditions and your deal becomes firm. Once conditions are removed, your deal is considered firm and we shift into closing preparations. You'll meet with your real estate lawyer about a week before possession. They'll handle the title transfer, mortgage instructions, final balance, and land titles registration. If you need a recommendation, I work with several lawyers who are fast, responsive, and experienced with first-time buyers. Before that meeting, your lawyer will likely send you a statement of adjustments showing the final numbers, purchase price, deposit credited, legal fees, and any property tax adjustments. You'll need to bring the remaining funds, usually via bank draft, to that appointment. You'll also need to set up home insurance to take effect on possession day, not after. Your mortgage provider usually requires it, and your lawyer needs proof of coverage before they can complete the transaction. Most buyers use their auto insurance provider for bundling purposes, but any licensed insurer would work. Next is utilities. Contact utility providers at least 1 to 2 weeks in advance to set up electricity, gas, water, internet, and waste services in your name. Possession dates can't shift last minute, so this needs to be scheduled ahead of time. If you're moving from a rental or out of town, I'll provide a checklist of who to contact and when. A day or two before possession, we will likely book your final walkthrough. This ensures the home is in the same condition as when you bought it. No major changes, damage, or items removed that should have stayed. And if there is an issue, we can flag it to the lawyer before the funds have been transferred. At this stage, your role is to confirm your lawyer's appointment, secure home insurance, arrange utility accounts, book movers if needed, and walk through the property before possession. My role is to coordinate with your lawyer, the listing agent, and ensure that everything lines up for a smooth handoff. Also, during this period, I would be responsible for finishing up some final documents in order to make the whole process with the lawyers flow a lot easier. Possession day is when the keys officially change hands, and once the seller's lawyer confirms that the funds have been received, I will pick up the keys from the listing agent, which usually happens sometime between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., depending on how quickly the banks clear everything. From there, I'll meet you at your new home and hand them over in person. We'll do one final walkthrough to make sure everything's in the condition that we agreed on. But at that point, the place is yours. Utilities should already be active, your insurance is live, and you're good to start moving in. And that's the full process, from pre-approval to keys in hand. If you want this entire roadmap laid out in one place with checklists, cost breakdowns, and timelines that you can actually follow, download my Edmonton Homebuyer Game Plan below. It's the same system I use with clients, and it'll walk you through the full process with zero guesswork. And if you're already looking and want a plan tailored to you, reach out anytime. My contact details are down below, and we will map out your next steps clearly and calmly so that you can move forward with confidence. Real estate doesn't have to feel overwhelming. Not when you've got the right strategy, the right plan, and someone in your corner who knows how to guide it.